Okay, finale. We made it. Are you happy you did this podcast?
Oh yeah, I love doing
Are
it.
you glad that your stress is over?
Yeah.
Or did you? You are. You're glad that we're not doing it anymore.
No,
Well, that's wonderful to hear.
No. I'm happy to start a new one.
Yeah,
like
right.
I'm happy to start like a new show and get into a new universe.
Yeah, and it's kind of a bummer that we have to wait 2 years to do
No, they
this.
haven't even started filming yet.
I know that is a huge bummer because like I'm ready to rock and roll,
Yeah.
and I can't decide if like I don't know. It's going to be cool in 2 years when everybody forgets that we had done this and we pop back up for season 2 because we're definitely going to do it.
Did Game of Thrones ever do that? Because I didn't watch Game of Thrones when it first came out.
Yeah, there was a lot of time between 7 and 8. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because I binged in between 7 and 8, and I basically got completely caught up, and then like a month or two later, season 8 came out.
Yeah, I think that I was in the same position. I either binged between 7 and 8, or I was watching 7 live. I think that might be the case, but either way, I don't remember the exact timeline, but I do remember there being like a pretty big gap between a couple of the seasons, which like, it makes sense with a show like this. And are you done coughing?
Probably not.
It makes sense with a show like this because it's so grand in scale, but like, I don't know, man. Like, they knew that they were going to get a season 2. Why not just go ahead and...
I know, but I guess,
all of the actors have different things they're doing, and...
Yeah, well, they just officially announced it after the show started. So, like...
Yeah.
HBO ain't just going to be spending millions if it's
a bummer.
Yeah, even though we knew.
Dude, everybody knew. But
they could have safely filmed 1 and 2.
Yeah, I agree. Lord of the Rings filmed concurrently. Like, they were filming the second one before the first one was
Really?
Yeah.
Good for their fans.
Yeah, Peter Jackson was just like, we're doing all 3 of them.
Yeah.
And they filmed them all 3 in a row.
I just wish that these epic shows like this kind of had the same vibe as like an ABC Grey's Anatomy situation where the season ends and it's like, oh, well, don't worry, guys, in 4 more months.
Yeah.
You're going to have another season. Like, no.
Well, there's a reason those shows kind of suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I feel you. It would be cool. Like, Marvel is doing a whole lot of cool things. Like, they've got the big epic movies, but then they've also got She-Hulk, which has more of like an Ally McBeal vibe. And it's more of a low-budget comedy type thing. It wouldn't not hit for me if Game of Thrones did a version of that where it was like filmed in the style of The Office, but it was like the High Council. You know what I mean? It was just the like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like you never really saw the king and stuff.
Should we do that?
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, we
should just do that as at least a sketch.
We'll do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, mark your calendars for whenever.
We're going to do it because that's funny. That's funny.
So the season came to an end. It was an epic finale. We've already given the show 5 dragons. There was almost nothing that could have happened in the finale that was going to negate that, in my opinion. I will say right off the bat that, and I think this kind of happens with Game of Thrones and big, huge shows where like the penultimate episode actually was kind of more rad than the finale. The finale was a little slow. It realistically only had like, I don't know, 4 scene changes.
Yeah.
It was much like this whole show. Me and Trey were talking about this on the Well Read podcast yesterday. And the reason he said that he loves House of the Dragon, but the reason he said that he doesn't buy into the whole this first season of House of the Dragon was better than first season of Game of Thrones is because he's like, in Game of Thrones, you had the expansive world.
Yeah, and I
like that too. Like, you didn't just have this story. You had what's Dany up to and what's going on over here.
The Lannisters, the Starks.
And in this show, it was primarily one family. I mean, and their cousins and all that stuff. But it's one story arc. And
this is like Dallas.
Yeah, it is kind of like Dallas. That's Westeros Dallas. That's
it literally, Dallas or Dynasty.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But like, if this season was already, look, it's only about this one thing, but this last episode in particular was only about one family and one story arc.
Oh, my only complaint is that on episode 9 and 10, I just wish that it wouldn't have been episode 9 the greens. Episode 10, the blacks. Like,
Right.
I wish that we could have
Done it all together.
yeah, like I would have loved to have seen the council meet and them say, Aemond, you need to go to Storm's End and like
Right.
you're gonna get married to one of his daughters. Like I would have loved to have seen that. You know, I think that would have been cool. But I mean, you know, like they're the artists.
That's true. They're the artists, and I told Trey, I said, here's what I'm making of it in my brain. That they pretty much knew off the bat. Look, we're going to get a season 2,
Yeah.
so we can do whatever we want. Like in a lot of shows, when they don't know they're going to get a season 2, they have to throw a bunch of stuff in there because it's like, what if we don't get renewed, or we need to make sure that they renew us. With this one, they didn't really have that. It's like, come on, we know it's going to happen. So I think that creatively they were like, all right, the whole first season is basically one long pilot, sort of like how they're doing in the Power of the Ring. It's like, look, we've got a lot of stuff to set up. You just got to be patient with us. If you let us do this, season 2 is going to be a banger.
So you've been watching that?
No, I haven't. But I hear all the nerds
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm about to start watching it, but I've been consumed with this. And everyone was saying, like, basically, look, if you're into Lord of the Rings, you'll love it, but it is a little slow because they're trying to build up to this. And with Game of Thrones, it's like they're building the Dance of the Dragons, and they've spent the entire first season just giving you one side of it, and they had to do this. And we already know that in season 2, we're going to go to Winterfell. Like, they've already let us know.
I know.
And, yeah.
The North remembers, baby.
The North does remember.
Yeah.
And so I'm already pumped about that. We know that if the season 2 is going to be all about the war, then they're going to houses are going to pledge fealty. There's going to be war. We're going to go to different realms and stuff.
Yeah, I'm ready
So,
to
like,
see some banners.
and I am too. And I'm with Trey in that, like, that is what separates the shows.
I totally get that.
But
Totally.
I think that we are going to be better off in season 2 for having done everything we've done in season 1, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, completely.
And
I agree with you about this being almost like one large pilot.
Right. And
an introduction.
We're just not a patient society anymore because of binging and because of on-demand
Yeah.
content, as it were.
Streaming has really messed us up.
But I do think that, like, it was the opposite of Game of Thrones season 8, where everything was rushed. Everything was rushed. They didn't take their time with anything. I think that they really learned their lesson, and they're like, listen, you're going to be better served in season 2 if we do it this way.
Yeah, they probably really did think about season 8.
For sure. They're like, we can't rush anything. So, Lady Kirby, take me through this episode.
All right, so episode begins at Rhaenyra.
What's it called, by the way?
The Black Queen,
You remembered.
I think.
It's the Black Queen.
Okay, all right. I was like, it's the Black Queen.
It is. You
I
did
didn't
it.
even write it down. I was like, that's what it is. It begins with Rhaenyra talking to Luke. That's her youngest son. And, you know, he's telling her basically, like, you know, you're perfect. And she's like, no, I'm not. You know, my dad.
Stop.
Yeah, you know, my dad basically had to, you know, guide me. I've made mistakes, obviously. I mean,
Look at you.
yeah, I mean, you know, like, so it's kind of foreshadowing that relationship of, you know, her youngest really just wants her approval, which she doesn't make them fight for it or anything.
No, she seems
They're
like a pretty good mom.
She said, yeah, I mean, is a very doting mom. Like,
For sure.
I mean, just her scenes, her childbirth scenes, like, she's a very affectionate mother. We like her as a mother.
She also, that actor, they really crush in childbirth scenes.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be surprising to me if the next thing they got casted in, they were like, we're going to have you give birth because you do that really well.
Yeah.
Because that's so, dude, like, this is coming from someone who is not a good actor, but I am forced to attempt it from time to time. Acting is so hard. Like, acting, in my opinion, is way harder than stand-up comedy. Granted, I've got to write all that stuff, but, like, it's me being me. Acting is so difficult, and when I'm watching, now that I've done some scenes and stuff, when I'm seeing her not only act great, but also act like she's giving birth while acting, I'm like, I could not do that.
I know. Well, like, literally, the act of physical pain.
Right.
Like, how
Her face is red, like she's clearly straining, and
Yeah.
she's nailing her lines. Like,
Yeah.
it's wonderful.
After that, they're you know, chilling, vibing. Rhaenys comes in, and you know, they're like, you know, welcome, you know, Princess Rhaenys, and she like was like, what's going on?
Wait, Rhaenys has already flown in there at this point?
Right after that, didn't
Yeah,
she fly in?
that's true. I think she flies in. Well, you were the one taking notes, but yes, she flies
Well,
in.
remember, I started after a certain point taking notes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, why do your job?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so they come in and they're like, Princess Rhaenys. What, are you giving a look to the camera? What? It's true.
Yeah,
You're the note taker.
I'm pulling a mom.
Well, you have no right to, just like Mom didn't, because it is your job.
I agree.
They tell her, they go, Princess Rhaenys is here and she requires an audience with you. Rhaenys walks in. You can tell written all over her face.
Yeah.
See, Rhaenyra says, oh, I hope we can expect news of Lord Corlys' recovery, but by Rhaenys' body language, she should know like that we're not getting good. We're not getting good information here.
Yeah, I mean, she literally is just like, your dad's dead.
Yeah, right. She literally goes, Viserys is dead. We share with your grievance. He was a great man. And she's like, oh, and Daemon perks up like,
well, yeah, and
am I the king consort now?
She's like, the throne's been usurped. The crowd watched Aegon be crowned king. The Greens have usurped. They're coming for your kids. They're coming for your women. You better hide your kids. Hide your kids, hide your wife, because they coming up in here.
Yeah, right. And tells her that you need to leave Dragonstone.
You're not safe. So all of this information, it's all just hitting Rhaenyra, and she just is in shock. And then all of a sudden, you see her hand, and it's got blood on it. She's in early labor.
She's gone into early labor
and
due to her stress.
She's not full term. It is not time for her to have her baby. So we already know this can't be good. Well, we see Daemon talking to like the council, and you can hear her screams.
Right.
And he's kind of like ignoring it. All the guys are like,
you won't get that?
Yeah.
Sounds like it don't
Yeah,
help.
you need to holler.
Yeah.
And Damon's just like, he is so convinced that,
There's
Alicent,
nothing I can do in there.
Yeah, Alicent killed his brother, and like they need to go to war. We got to figure this out.
Which she didn't, but we're the only ones that know that.
Yeah, so I get it. The day they left, when she hadn't seen him in years.
There's no, I would 100% believe that. There is no, it's so convenient that, he died and didn't tell nobody.
Yeah.
That, there's no way I wouldn't believe that a man in that condition didn't just get, because she wouldn't have to poison him. She just literally put a pillow on his face. He couldn't,
yeah.
There's nothing you could say that would convince. Alicent's actually in a very rough spot because there's it's almost like if Alicent was really, really smart, she would have just been like, listen, I believe that he said he wants Aemon to be king.
No, Aegon.
Aegon to be. I know that he said, in my mind, I believe that he said that. But I also know that if I say this, we're going to war because there's no way that they're going to believe me. She almost just should have been pragmatic and just kept it to herself, let Rhaenyra be the queen, whatever.
I think she just literally thinks that.
She believes it.
Well, she thinks if Rhaenyra is queen, that her children are in danger and that Rhaenyra will kill all her children. Her dad has put that in her head.
Which I don't think she would.
I don't think so either, but also, this show, I mean.
They flip on a dime.
Yeah, they do. They really do.
So Daemon tells his sons, he goes, look, you're about to see what fealty means. He takes the guards out. The guards are standing there. Daemon's up on a rock. And this is what I want to talk about with this. He starts telling, he's like, hey, who do you think is queen? And they're just like, Rhaenyra, of course.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, word, true, you really believe that? And then all of a sudden he goes, because, and then the dragon comes, right? How do these dragons have such good timing? Because it's not like Daemon whistled for him.
Yeah.
It's not like Daemon said something in Valerian to summon him. It's literally like Daemon, right before all this, had a conversation with his dragon and is like, okay, look, I'm going to be talking to these guys. You hide out over here. Then as soon as I say this, you peek over and scare them. Because, what's the I don't understand how that happens.
Vibes. And they know how to read the room.
They do know how to read the room because later this happens, and we'll skip forward just for 2 seconds, then I'll come back to this. But this same thing happens later when Otto gets on the bridge where they all meet to talk to each other, and he goes, "Where is Rhaenyra?" And at that exact time, dragon flies over.
Which Rhaenyra's on the dragon, so she's...
No, I know that, but she can't hear it. It's just these dragons have absolute impeccable timing. Vibes. Reading the room. Anyways, go ahead.
Vibes.
He has them pledge fealty.
Yeah, and so obviously, even though I think they were going to if there wasn't a dragon involved.
For sure, they seemed like they were.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, obviously, they're like, you're a queen. And during this, Rhaenyra is, laboring, and it is very, very, very intense. And she is not letting any of the septas help her. Like, she is, like, having this baby on her own.
No milk of the puppy, even though she has to know, like, this baby probably ain't making it.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, I'm doing this myself. And she delivers her baby standing up by herself. It's very intense. And it's, the baby is born stillborn.
But, okay. Do you think that she knew as it was coming out it was dead? And I say that because if she didn't, she sort of just birthed it onto the concrete. Like, its head hit the concrete.
Did it?
Yeah. Like, I watched it again. Like, she kind of has her head down there, but when she lets it go, like, it just falls on the concrete.
I don't know.
Like,
I know, maybe. I'm not sure. I know the umbilical cord is around its neck, and there's, afterbirth and so much blood and stuff on the baby that, like, I know they say in the books that this baby is born with scales. And I think you can kind of see that.
When we watched it the first time, you couldn't see it right after she gives birth, but when they had it on that table, they kind of panned back, and like it very much to me looked like a scaly baby. But they didn't zoom in, and it was very dark.
Well, and you remember that Daenerys, she gave birth to a baby like that when she had
But they showed it, let you know. With this one, I kind of think it was like maybe, we're being ambiguous with it. If you want to read into that, that's fine. But like they did, again, the show is very, very dark, and they just kind of panned over it. Y'all, let us know in the comments if you thought the baby had scales, because I'm team scales.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. I think so. And also, I don't know if they said it in the episode, but I know in the books, the baby is named after Aegon's sister wife, I think Visenya.
Okay.
Yeah, Aegon the Conqueror's sister wife. So that happens, and
isn't Sister Wives the name of a show?
Yeah.
Is that the Duggar dude?
No. That's
yeah,
500 kids and counting or something.
Okay, yeah.
No, Sister Wives is a man with a plural marriage.
Okay.
Yeah. They're not actually sisters, but Aegon's those were his two sisters. Yeah. So after that, we cut to they're having their little like funeral scene where they're gonna, they have the baby like kind of like on the pyre, and the dragon's gonna,
roast it.
Yeah, rotisserie that thing, and all of a sudden, which we don't know that I guess they just want the viewers to decide if it's Eric or Eric.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm supposed to tell.
Yeah,
at this
he
point.
shows up, and
I'm sure that we have fans out there like, how can you guys not tell? But like, we can't.
Yeah. One clearly parts his hair on the other side.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. I mean, whatever. But he shows up, and they're like, "What's going on?" And he comes, and he has stolen Viserys' crown, and he has come from King's Landing, and he kneels down and has his moment of, I pledge to you, Queen Rhaenyra.
I will bleed for you.
I will not take a wife. I will not have children. I will be like, I guess, the leader of your Queen's Guard. That's like a emotional moment. And then Daemon gets the crown, puts it on Rhaenyra, bows, and says, "My queen." And it's like,
your ovary started
moving
a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, because, you just think back to the beginning of the season, which was 20 years ago.
Right.
When he literally was like, I'm the heir. I'm supposed to be the king.
Right.
Like, just what now? It's just he
burns for her.
He does burn for her, even though I get mad at him in this episode. But so they all slowly start to bow, and it's an emotional moment. Then it cuts to Rhaenys, who doesn't bow, but she gives her a look of approval.
Yeah, it's almost like she's like, I'm the one that brought this information, so I don't have to bow,
Or do you think maybe she didn't because she wanted to make eye contact with Rhaenyra and say, "Look, I approve of this"? Like,
yeah, maybe, but it is like you're supposed to bow.
So you're supposed to bow.
Yeah, right. Like even her kids call her my grace.
Yeah, but like, so after that, we got like the Queen's Council meeting, and Rhaenyra walks in, and Daemon introduces her as the Queen of the Realm and stuff, and it is so hot when he does it. Like, he's just like Lady of the Seven Kingdoms, Queen of the Rhaenyra, vibes, and just like, it's hot. So it is. So they're meeting and they're talking, and Rhaenyra is very cautious about everything, and Damon is just like, no, let's fight. And
Burn 'em.
she keeps kind of giving him this look, and it's obvious that she feels like he's overstepping a little bit.
Like, hey, buddy, I'm the queen here.
Yes.
You're the king consort.
Yes.
Titles.
Yes, and I know he's like, no, we need to act now. We need to act, and she's like, I don't want to hit first. I don't want to rule over ashes. You know, I think that's when she says it in that scene. Like, you know,
What's the point of this if everybody's
yeah,
dead?
like Daenerys. What was the point of being queen if there's not going to be anything to be queen of if you just burn it all?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have like the Mad King vibes. She's very reserved.
Not yet. I mean, I don't know if she ends up.
Because Dany didn't at first either.
No.
Well, we say that. If you go back and watch Game of Thrones with hindsight, everything she does, you're kind of like, yeah.
She has these crazy, I don't want to say crazy, she has these very emotional moments where it seems like a flip is switched, but every time that happens, it's because she feels like someone has been, a group of people has been wronged, like the Unsullied and stuff.
Right.
So to see her burn all of these poor people living in poverty, the people that she was fighting for, it was just out of her character. But, you know, season 8, screw you, season 8. Y'all, you know, whatever.
Sit on it.
But, so they're talking about how they can win this war. Daemon starts naming off all the Caraxes, Varaxes, Venerials, all the dragons.
And then they're basically playing like a game of Risk on the Dragonstone table where they've got their little pawns and they're like, we've got them. But listen, the Lannisters, they're in. He's way too loyal to Otto. We don't have them. We've got the Tullys. Baratheons.
Yeah, they've got their little table that it looks really cool.
Yeah.
How they have it like set up or whatever. Daemon says that they have 13 dragons and that the Greens only have 4.
Well, they have 13 to every 4, I think is what he says.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe it could be what you just said.
Yeah, because he starts naming all of them, and he starts naming all the riders, and then he says that there's some unclaimed dragons, and then
that he has incubated.
Well, no, there's already unclaimed dragons, and then there's dragon eggs that are being incubated.
Yeah, right.
And then you got Sea Smoke, who we end up finding out that Laenor's dragon, even though he's been dead for years, hasn't been claimed by anyone, which
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, because
why wouldn't you claim a dragon?
Yeah, because I mean, Daemon's other daughter, I think, does she have a dragon? Yeah, the one that was supposed to get Vhagar, she doesn't have a dragon. Why hasn't she claimed Sea Smoke?
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Maybe she's just not into it.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times people are entitled to things and they're like, not for me.
Yeah, I mean, but whatever, you know, I digress. So after that, they say, hey, we just saw a ship that's got, you know, the banner for the High Towers or whatever. So they realize that Otto and Posse are there. So they meet up on the like bridge thing, which is, it looks like, remember whenever Rhaenyra showed up on Dragonback?
Yeah.
With Otto to confront Daemon when Daemon was living at Dragonstone 20 years ago.
Same thing, but reverse.
So Otto shows up and he says, I come, you know, on behalf of the Dowager Queen Alicent. Mm-hmm. And he starts saying all of, you know, King Aegon's names and stuff. And they're just like,
okay,
we'll let you finish, but by the way, he ain't the king. And he calls Rhaenyra princess. And Rhaenyra,
asked her to swear obeisance.
Yes, but before he says that to Rhaenyra, he's just talking to Daemon. And then all of a sudden, Rhaenyra busts up on Dragon. Perfect timing. And he says, you know, the queen is being fair. Like, you know, she's saying you can have Dragonstone. Your kid can still have Driftmark. Your kids with Daemon. Aegon the Younger will be a squire to the king. And then their son Viserys can be a cupbearer. Basically, here's all these terms. We want everything to be peaceful.
Which, you know, as far as terms go, pretty good ones.
Yeah, and all they have to do is acknowledge that Aegon is king. Rhaenyra ends up calling Otto an effing traitor and throws his pen overboard.
If you're no more the hand than he is the king.
Yes. And so he's like, all right, well, I thought this might happen. Hold on. Breaks out a page that, I guess we need to maybe go back to the earlier episodes when it was the other actresses playing.
I know. What it reminded me of, I could be wrong, was they were under the tree in the Godswood, and they were like reading something together.
That might have been that.
I think it was like their book that they read together.
Yeah.
I think.
He brought that as emotional warfare
Terrorism.
to remind Rhaenyra that her and Alicent share a bond. They were friends, 20 years ago.
Yeah, right. Whole lot of stuff has happened. You banged her dad.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, I mean, I look back and there's people I went to middle school with that I could literally give a rat's AWS about.
100%.
So, I mean,
I'm trying to lose friends, not gain them.
Yeah, not trying to gain them. Damon's like, calls the queen. I think I'll see you next Tuesday in a whore. Just regular old talk.
Regular old Westeros stuff.
And he's like, I'm going to kill Otto. He says, Sir Eric, bring me Otto. I'm going to kill him. And Rhaenyra tells him no. And he's just like,
This is how we're going to do this?
yeah, Rhaenyra is really trying to
be diplomatic.
She says no. And so Otto's giving her the terms, and she's like, I'll give you your terms back on the morrow.
Yeah.
And then we get to a scene with Rhaenyra and Daemon by themselves. They're chit-chatting, and she mentions Aegon's dream of Song and Ice and Fire. And Daemon's like,
What are you talking about?
what are you talking about? And so she's like, Dad didn't tell you, which, I mean, no, he didn't tell him because he wasn't the heir.
Right.
So, yeah. Hello, that's why he didn't know. So when she says that, Daemon grabs her by the throat, chokes her.
Yeah, and not in a
good way.
Not in a come here, daddy.
Yeah,
kind of
no,
way.
yeah, not that way.
Like an OJ choke, not a.
Yeah, and an abusive spouse, not good. We did not like it.
To the queen.
To
now,
the queen.
By the way, so does that change everything about Daemon to you? Like that one thing, does that change everything about Daemon to you? Because let me say this: if we were talking about real life, it would. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
if one of your best friend's husbands, who you've always thought was awesome, choked your best friend, you wouldn't go, well, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so we know that this is fiction, but does it change it for you?
I don't think it changed everything for Daemon for me. What it did was remind me of the Daemon that we had at the very beginning of the show that we were mad at.
Right.
That, went to the brothel and said the heir for the day and made fun of the baby dying. Like, It reminded, that is Daemon too.
Right, exactly.
And yes,
he
has
grown.
Yeah, he's grown, but I mean, deep down, he's power hungry.
And granted, in that world, choking a woman is not the same as it is in our world.
No.
And I don't mean that in a joking way. I just mean that, nowadays,
this is a world of incest and stuff.
This is a world of incest, and men are the patriarchy is way more insane than even it is in the American South right now. But back then, if a man publicly slapped a woman, everybody would just be like, "Bet she was talking." Bet she was saying something we didn't like.
Yeah.
But nowadays, don't get me wrong, there's some men that would see a man slap a woman and think that, but for the most part, there would be public outcry like, whoa, this guy just hit a woman.
Yeah.
But in this world, that is not the case. Now, granted, she is, by his own admission, the queen. Yeah. So what he just did is treason.
So he chokes her, and he lets go of her, and he says, dreams didn't make us kings, dragons did. And Rhaenyra is just kind of just taken aback, and she's like, you don't know.
Right.
And then, which in real life, I feel like you'd be like, okay, well, all right, well, tell me what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Can you just fill me in?
Fill me in. I'm mad at you.
Communication is one of the tent poles of a relationship.
Yeah.
Can you work with me here?
Yeah. So he doesn't ask what she's talking about. We cut to the sea snake in the bed. It's the first time we've seen the sea snake. Sea snake.
He's in a lot better shape than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah,
Because they made it sound like he's on the edge of death. Which
it finds out he's just got a gangster limp. That's all he ends up having. Yeah. So he's in the bed, and he wakes up, and you see Rhaenys asleep in a chair. She's a devoted wife. She's been by his bedside. He makes a joke, to her. She wakes up and she tells him, you betrayed me. You left. I needed you. Your grandchildren needed you. You left for adventure on the sea, which reminds me of whenever Rhaenyra wanted to do that.
Right.
And which, by the way, ain't no boat, ain't no sea worth leaving that fine woman.
Absolutely. I'd stay at home and let her me all day.
That
Sorry.
wasn't PG.
No, that was not PG.
No,
I'll cut that.
Yeah. That was, but yeah, we didn't say a bad word at least. So, she tells him about his brother getting his head cut off by Daemon, and surprisingly,
he's like, yeah.
Yeah, surprisingly.
I get it.
Yeah, he's like, God, my brother, he's always kind of just
talking trash,
and he admits that, like, in the pursuit of the Iron Throne, I've lost focus, and we just need to go back to Driftmark and declare for nobody, and just have our grandchildren and just live out our days in peace. And she's like, actually,
what we've been wanting him to say this whole time.
What we've been wanting him, but. She's like, no.
Not the time.
No, it's not. Honestly, yeah, back in the day, yeah, we could have done that. But we need to have Rhaenyra's back. Like, the Greens are coming. And he's like, Rhaenyra was like part of the, I say a lot. Oh, God, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm going to get made fun of for that. He says Rhaenyra was part of our son's death.
What do you say a lot that you're going to get made?
Like. I say the word like.
That's okay. Everybody does.
He says Rhaenyra was part of our son's death, and she says, well, I'll just tell you, there's a bunch of men that are just like wanting to start war, and Rhaenyra is showing restraint. Rhaenys is proud of Rhaenyra. She thinks this is the kind of queen I would have been.
But, okay, to the snake.
That's what you get.
To the sea snake's point, I mean, don't you think Rhaenys still kind of believes that Rhaenyra had something to do with her son's death? And now she's just like, well, she's being a good queen. Like that, like our mother would not forgive that.
I think that she cares more about the safety of her grandchildren.
Right, that's all she has left
I
now.
think that's all she is caring about, is keeping her family safe.
Right.
To think. What's wrong with that?
I don't know.
They're all meeting. Lord Corlys comes in, and he's just gangsta lean coming up, and it's this awkward moment, and Rhaenyra's like, sup?
How you doing, boss?
And he comes up, and he's like, so all these people, are these your allies? And she says, yeah. And he's like, well, that's not enough for you to win. And he tells her, like, all right, well, we've got your back. Mm-hmm. My fleet has your back. We got you. And she says, you honor me. Mm-hmm. And he ends up telling her, like, hey, we've got the Charky now. We've got the Narrow Sea. We can cut off King's Landing's supply chain. So that's huge. His support is huge. And they're like, okay, well, we still need the Storm's End and the Eyrie. And Storm's End is the Baratheons. The Eyrie is
the Aarons.
The Aarons, who her aunt is an Aaron. So she's like, we should be good there. But we need to remind Lord Boros Baratheon that, he's a little fickle.
Yeah.
And we need to remind him that his dad swore an oath to me. And so they're like, we'll send some ravens. And Jacaerys,
send me.
It's like, send us. And Lucerys is over there like,
I think a raven would be fine.
yeah, a raven will be fine, but whatever. So they decide.
Which they make the point of, they're like, Lord Boros is a shamefully proud man or an eternally proud man.
He'll be crunk.
Like when the prince shows up with a dragon, like it's a sealed deal. He'll be like, okay, what up, yo, I'm on your team.
Yeah, he'll be really excited about it. So she says, we're going to send y'all. And during that, Rhaenys says that she'll go on dragon back over to like the Narrow Sea to guard it, which is just
Sexy.
She's such a baddie.
Yeah, slay.
Yeah, slay queen, slay. So they're sending the princes. We have this moment of Lucerys talking to Rhaenyra, and is Jacaerys with them, or is it just...
No, it's just them two, I'm pretty sure, and
he just has this moment of just being scared.
Yeah, he's clearly terrified. He does not want to do this.
And I mean, like I said to you, like, I get not sending like the whole Kingsguard, but could they have not sent like one guy with them? He's little.
Yeah, and he's a boy.
Like, he's in 6th grade.
Now, again, this is a different world where, like, at that age, men are expected to be kings, so...
Yeah, but they're not that. Like, he's not Aemond.
No, I know. I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, it is a different world, but, like, no, I mean, yes, this is now the heir to one of the heirs to the throne in y'all's mind. Like, you need to send, like... You can fit somebody else on this dragon. Yeah.
And so she's like, you got this, you're good. Like, they're going to be so happy to see you. And he just says, yes, mother, and then corrects himself and says, you're great.
You're great.
And just the overwhelming of...
I wanted her to be like, you can call me
Well,
Mom.
she has that look she gives him,
it's okay,
she knows, like, he's doing good. The princes, you see them fly off to the Eyrie and storms in. Daemon goes into a cave, starts singing to a dragon.
And Valerian.
And we don't really know what that means. I don't know if he's just like, hey, like, let's get ready to fight. Like, let's get ready to rumble.
I don't know. Like, because did they have captions that said what he was really saying?
No, it was just...
Yeah, it was just some drunk sailor song that he was singing to the dragon. I don't know. Maybe that's how he has to calm him down.
Yeah.
I used to sing to my dog for no reason. Maybe that's just what he was doing.
Maybe
maybe that's just his buddy, and he was singing.
Yeah, maybe. So, Lucerys, we see him show up at Storm's End, and I didn't see this until I rewatched it. You see Vhagar. Whenever he gets there.
And he's huge.
And you just really see how big Vhagar is.
It's the Titanic versus Gilligan's Island boat. In terms of dragon.
Literally. Yeah, it's kind of like at the beginning of Titanic where it shows that little boat at the beginning. Yeah, it's just... Because when we've seen Vhagar before, we haven't seen Vhagar in comparison to another dragon.
Yeah, right. We've just seen it and we're just like,
dragons are big.
Big dragon.
Yeah, so Vhagar is huge. So he realizes, well, Aemon Strong Eye, he's there.
Strong Eye.
So he walks in. Lord Boros is he's on the crown, looking like
exactly like Robert. Like if they hadn't have even said who they were about to meet, and they pulled up, I promise you, I would have been like Leonardo DiCaprio. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'd been like, that's a Baratheon right there.
I know that's totally a Baratheon.
Yeah.
So he gets there, and you got some of the Baratheon, obviously his daughters, and Aemon's there, and Lucerys walks up, and you can tell he's nervous. He's like, I'm Prince.
Especially because he's like, oh crap, they got here first.
Yeah, like he just thought.
And his mom should have thought about that.
Yeah. So he's like, crap, they got here first, and he says, very nervously, like, I'm Prince Lucerys, like, I got a message from the Queen. And Lord Boros is very rude to him. He's like, you House of the Dragon, y'all don't know if y'all got a king or a queen. Like, what's up with y'all? And Lucerys is like, okay, well, here's my note. I just got a note. So he hands off a note, and Aemon's just standing there looking smug. And Boros is like, I need a bloody maester over here.
I can't read.
The maester reads it. And he's
I'm a Baratheon. All I know is whoring and fighting.
Yeah, he's like, how dare you say that I need to be reminded of my oath? Like, how dare you? At least the Greens are giving me something. They're saying Aemon will marry one of my daughters and will strengthen our houses. Like, what are you giving me? You're not giving me nothing. Aemon is saying he wants to fight Lucerys. He takes off his eye patch, and you see his shiny sapphire.
He's got like Last Mr. Biggs.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to take one of your eyes. And Lord Boros is like, nope, nope, nope.
Not
no
in
blood,
my hole.
Not in my house. Like, I don't want any bloodshed. Like, no, 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 no. So then after that, we see Lucerys get on his dragon, and he's nervous.
Yeah.
Like, he's like running up. And
He's
like,
hauling butt.
Yeah, and he starts talking to his dragon.
Obey me, obey me.
Arax. Tells him, like, obey me. Like, listen, let's get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, right.
Like, let's get out of here. And so he gets on his dragon, and he starts flying real quick, and he's like, whew. And it's raining hard. Mm-hmm. And he's flying, and then all of a sudden you hear a roar, and he's like, oh, God. It's Vhagar.
Then the camera cuts from underneath.
And you see how big Vhagar really is, and it is terrifying.
Yeah, it's rough.
I mean, we're scared.
It was one of the most bone-chilling scenes in all of Game of Thrones. Seeing that, I mean, my heart sank. I was like, oh, God.
Yeah. I mean, we all knew as an audience, this ain't good.
Yeah,
this
right.
ain't good. And so Aemon starts just taunting him and flying after him. He's taunting him. And we end up seeing that Arax, there's a shot of Vhagar right there. Arax is literally the size of Vhagar's, like, toes.
Yeah, like the little hoof
His
on his
talons.
wings. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's tiny. Aemon saying, you owe a debt, boy. And then after that, we show that these dragons, they listen to their masters, but
Until they get mad.
Till they get mad, they still got a mind of their own.
Yeah, like a horse will do some horse stuff if the horse gets scared.
So Arax throws a fireball at Vhagar, and Lucerys did not tell him to do that.
Bad move.
And Lucerys was, saying, no, obey me, no. And when that happens, all of a sudden, Vhagar gets mad, and Aemon knows something's about to happen. And Aemon is telling Vhagar, no, listen to me, no, because Aemon really was just trying to scare him.
He was wanting to scare him.
I don't think he was not trying to kill him.
You can tell by the way he looks after it's all happened. He's like, oh my God, I did not expect this to happen.
He's telling Vhagar, listen to me. Well, all of a sudden, Vhagar eats Arax and Luke.
Big old bite.
Wings
flapping to the ocean.
Yeah, and Vaemond, sorry.
Who is Vaemond?
The sea snake's brother.
Oh, right. Okay,
yeah.
You're right.
Aemond is like, oh, God, I done messed up.
Well, if there wasn't going to be war, there certainly is.
Oh, if it's not the consequences of my actions. Like, oh, no. And, I mean, he is shook, like, oh, God, like, how am I going to explain this at King's Landing? He is not happy. He was telling him no. Honestly, the way I saw this right here is the perfect example. This shows that, just like Daenerys said, a dragon is not a slave. Remember when she says that to the king of the master of the Unsullied? Because he's got his whip, and he's like, obey me. And she says, dragon's not a slave. And then she Dracarys all of them. Like, they're meant to still be wild.
Yeah,
like, I know,
like, they'll do what you want until they feel threatened.
Until they're mad. Like, they're going to do what they want.
Yeah, it's not a car.
Yeah, it's not a car. It's not just a means of transportation. Right after that, we're like, oh, God, this is not good. We see Daemon.
I assumed it was going to cut to black right after that.
Yeah, and it does not. It shows slow motion Daemon walking up to Rhaenyra to tell her. And it's silent. You can't hear anything, but you know what's happening.
But what do you think he's telling her? Because, like, a couple things could have happened. Because, first off, it's not like there's a body that's in Vhagar's belly.
Well, in the books, I'm pretty sure that, like, a wing floats up on the shore.
And they're like, well, that has to be that.
And I mean, like, there's nowhere to be found. So it's, even if he's not saying it's obvious they're dead, like, he's saying, like, something happened.
Something happened, yeah. And I'm sure that they were like, he should be home by now.
Yeah.
Jace is already home.
Yeah.
So
she's got her back to the viewers, and you see her just kind of stumble. I mean, like, it's the life's been taken out of her. I mean, she's just about to fall down, just grief.
A mother's worst nightmare, your son gets eaten on a dragon.
Yeah, I mean, losing a child is literally a mother's worst nightmare. And like we said in the beginning of the episode.
Fault.
Yeah, I mean, she should have sent someone with him.
You want your boys to be men and you want to trust them, but at the same time, it's like you knew how dangerous this could be and you sent your children to do it.
Yeah.
Like you could have sent a raven.
Yeah. So she turns around and she's got this look on her face that is like terrifying. And you see a tear go on her face. And the pain and anguish in her face, like...
It says, wait for season 2.
Wait for season 2. A dragon has been awoken. The dance of the dragons is about to begin. Y'all just messed with the wrong girl.
And all that diplomatic stuff I was talking
all
earlier.
The war crimes that are about to be committed are justified. Y'all messed with a mama. It cuts to black. That's the end. And we got to wait 2 more years.
Don't hit. But the show very much did hit. I loved it. I love doing this podcast with you.
Yeah.
It's 5 dragons all the way around. I was going to make predictions for season 2, but I mean, the only thing I can say is it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be, we're going to see more Game of Thrones style stuff, whereas we're going to be in different worlds. I hope that it's not just the sole focus of Rhaenyra's point of view. I hope that we get to see full episodes of the Baratheons.
Oh, yeah, agreed.
I hope that with this, we also get... Because one thing this show lacked, me and Trey talked about this, and it's fine, it's a different show. But there was no Tyrion. There was no...
Yeah, we said that first podcast. We
did.
need that humor.
We did. There was no Tyrion. Frankly, there was no Bronn. There was none of these... Like, all the tertiary characters in this show were very serious. Like, Sir Kristen was just a butthead. I think now that we're getting to expand the world in season 2, perhaps we're going to see one of those people.
All I can think is that during this time of George R.R. Martin's books, there was just not humor during this time.
Right.
I guess. I mean, that's all I'm thinking. That's the only thing I'm thinking is that that he just didn't write anything funny during this time.
And listen, that's totally fine. It's just that Game of Thrones is the standard, and that's the world that's the tone that we expect.
Yeah.
But I think that when we open up the worlds, maybe we're going to get some of that back, and it definitely lends itself to there being more, like everyone's not just going to be a target. The Targaryens are a very serious people. Like none of the Targaryens in Game of Thrones were funny. So it makes sense that like if we're just dealing with this family, they're all crazy, they're all warmongers. But now that we're going to open up the world, because Jason Lannister had some funny moments this season. He was pretty humorous.
You could do an impression of him really good, too.
Is that right?
Yeah. And what's just crazy to me is the moment that Luke dies on that dragon, the dragon dies, everything changed. Literally, the reason why Game of Thrones happened, the reason why Daenerys is dead, all of it is all because of that moment. All because of it. And
all for Bran to be on the Iron Throne. Oh, God. Well, hopefully in the Jon... think about this, though. We're getting a Jon Snow spinoff. They could retcon a lot of stuff. Like, Jon Snow is going to take place after all of this.
Yeah.
So, and it's not like, me and Trey were talking about this, it's not like we're going to open the show and everyone in the realm is going to be like, well, Bran's the king. What are you going to do? Like, there's going to be war.
Yeah.
And it's possible that we can finally, with the Jon Snow spinoff, get the season 8 ending that we never got.
I mean, high school class secretaries were appointed with more organization and thought. I mean, literally, like, due process, guys.
None.
Checks and balances.
Not one bit of check nor balance.
Just...
Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in to the last episode of Little House of the Dragon. Appreciate y'all listening. Thank y'all so much. We love you. Thank you for listening to Puttin on Airs. Remember to like, subscribe, download, tell all your friends.
Yeah.
And if you want more Lady Kirby, holler.
Yeah. Peace up. A-Town down.
A-Town down.